I'll read you something here this morning before we get started. This was a real blessing to me. It's called A Little Help from a Friend. It said, during the Korean War, Lieutenant Robin Reisner and his wingmen were involved in a history-making feat. They were hunting MiG-15s just south of the Yalu River, which is the border between China and North Korea. Lieutenant Reisner got into a dogfight with an exceptionally aggressive MiG pilot. It was suspected at the time that the Soviet Union was supplying pilots as well as MiGs to the North Koreans. Reisner locked onto this particular airplane and blasted away at it. The pilot dove, jinked, and banked in an effort to lose the determined American. Pieces of the MiG blew away. Then the canopy blew off. But the plane flew on, heading north for the Chinese border in safety. At one point, in a desperate attempt to force Reisner to overshoot him, the MiG pilot deployed his air brake. Reisner slid right beside the damaged aircraft, only to see a red-haired Caucasian shaking an angry fist at him. Reisner dropped behind him again and fired away. Now over China, the MiG disintegrated and Lieutenant Reisner and his wingmen turned for home. But ground fire from the communist enemy damaged Reisner's wingman's F-86. They managed to get out of Chinese airspace before the airplane flamed out. He was going to have to bail out into the waiting arms of the North Koreans. But Lieutenant Reisner had an idea that might save his wingmen. The F-86 had a round air intake with an upper lip that stuck out. Reisner dropped behind and below his wingman and carefully flew his plane up against the gliding fighter, inserting that lip right into the tailpipe. Then he pushed his wingman out over the Sea of China, where he bailed out. Didn't give up. Isn't that a blessing?
Amen.
Every once in a while, you just need a push from a friend.
Amen.
And so here's the next one. Like Robin Reisner, Captain Bob Perdue was also a fighter pilot in the U.S. Air Force, but he flew a different airplane in a different war. Perdue flew an F-4 Phantom against targets in North Vietnam during that war. On March the 10th, 1967, he and his weapons systems operator, Lieutenant Steve Wayne, were bombing steel mills in Hanoi. Also in the flight was Captain Earl Almond and his guy in back, Lieutenant Bob Holton. On the run-in, both planes were hit by anti-aircraft fire. Captain Almond's Phantom was hit twice and began spewing jet fuel. Just after the bomb run, Almond's F-4 flamed out while still over North Vietnam. Unwilling to fly off and let two fellow air warriors become prisoners of war, Perdue decided on drastic action. In the spirit of Robbie Reisner, he decided to push Almond's damaged Phantom into Laotian airspace where both men could eject with a reasonable chance of being rescued. Unable to push the massive two-man glider with his fragile nose cone, Perdue told Almond to lower his tail hook, a residue feature from when the F-4 was a Navy fighter. Then, fighting the turbulent air coming off of Almond's craft, Perdue eased his windscreen against the extended tail hook and slowly applied a little more throttle. Every few seconds, the tail hook would lose contact with Perdue's windscreen, and he would have to repeat the process again. But Almond's rate of descent was drastically reduced. Then Perdue's damaged left engine caught fire. He extinguished it and restarted it, only to have it ignite again. He was forced to shut it down completely as he now attempted to fly two planes on one engine. At 6,000 feet with only 10 minutes of fuel left, Perdue backed off and told Almond and Holton to eject. Then Perdue and Wayne did the same. Almond and Holton were forced to evade pursuing enemy forces, and the four airmen were soon rescued by helicopters, which took them to Undorn, RTAB, Thailand. Both Perdue and Wayne later received the Silver Star for their gallant act. And here's what Lieutenant Colonel Bob Perdue said. How can you fly off and leave someone you just fought a battle with? The thought never occurred to me.
Amen.
Amen. What a blessing. Amen. Oh, and the last two words in that is fight on. Amen.